In hundreds of markets around the country, people are seeing real estate appraisals come in extremely low. I'm going to explain to you why this is happening and what you can do about it. First, you need to understand about supply and demand. If there isn't a lot of supply or there are unique homes out there and the buyer wants to pay what they want to pay, that is actually the market price. However, if the buyer is obtaining a loan with a lender, or if they choose to pay cash but they would like to order an appraisal, the lender also makes you order an appraisal, makes the buyer pay for the appraisal, because the lender wants to secure their investment. They want to know that the investment that they're loaning money on is worth the money that the buyer is paying. And if it's not, they want the buyer to pay the difference. So I'm going to explain. And this is just an example for purposes of educating you. So if a buyer wants to pay $200,000 for a home, but then the appraisal comes back from the lender ordering it, and they order their own appraiser, you don't get a choice. They charge you for the appraisal up front on your credit card during the contract. And let's say the appraisal comes back at $150,000. And this might be happening due to the fact that homes in the neighborhood have sold for less with more motivated sellers recently. It could be that it was overpriced to begin with and the real estate agent just took an overpriced listing. Even though the buyer wants it and is willing to pay $200,000, the comparable sales in the last few months, 6 months, have shown that it's probably not worth $200,000. There may be a lot of other factors going on with that the appraiser was able to see when they were at the home and measuring the home. There could be discrepancies that the home wasn't as large as the agent marketed. So anyway, let's get back to it. If the home appraised for $150,000, the lender is now going to say, we are only going to loan on the $150,000 appraisal price. So if you were doing like a 95% loan, they're only going to give you 95% of $150,000. So the buyer has to now cough up the difference of $150,000 and $200,000. Okay, so that's $50,000 they have to bring to the table if they still want the home. There's two options in most cases. One, you can renegotiate if you're doing due diligence or it's contingent on appraisal. The buyer's agent can now renegotiate the price and say, listen, the home did not appraise. We don't want to pay more than appraisal value. We do not have the $50,000 to come up. We need the seller to come down and be realistic about this appraisal price. Or number two, you can look for errors in the appraisal. They are humans. Appraisers are humans. So you can do a rebuttal or reconsideration of value. But the point is, if the seller's not willing to come down, or you can't negotiate enough and you can't come to a meeting of the minds and the buyers don't have the difference, the buyers will have to walk. And in the case of an FHA or a VA appraisal, those appraisals have case numbers, and no other buyer, if the seller refuses to come down, no other buyer with that loan type for 6 months will have the same issue, because the appraisal will follow the home, if that makes sense. So that seller will then now only be able to sell to conventional or cash buyers if they do not come down or negotiate or figure it out. And so we're seeing a lot of this all over the country in hundreds of markets. Comment below what you think of this video. I've been doing this for a really long time, like 26 years. So I have some experience, but I'm seeing this more and more, and I'm getting questions on TikTok about it.